Tonight, after a 2-week wait and a few false starts, Rangers appoint Danny Rule as their new head coach. The former Sheffield Wednesday manager takes over from Russell Martin, who was sacked after just 17 games in charge. Also on tonight's programme, a care home company in the Highlands has been fined more than £1.8 million after a 96-year-old resident choked to death. Still to come. The Port of Nig is set to benefit from hundreds of millions of pounds of investment as part of expansion plans.
In the sport, we'll take a look at what type of coach Rangers are getting in Danny Rule, who becomes the youngest manager to ever take the reins at Ibrox.
And how did the American talk show host Jimmy Fallon end up eating Scotch eggs and drinking Buckfast with the Royal Regiment of Scotland? I'm Sarah McMullen. This is Reporting Scotland. Now, after 2 weeks of turmoil and 2 failed deals, Rangers have finally confirmed Danny Rule as their new head coach. The club had been in talks with former Rangers manager Steven Gerrard and former Ibrox player Kevin Muscat after Russell Martin was sacked following just 17 games in charge. But it is Danny Rule, previously a manager at Sheffield Wednesday, who will take over and end the search. Well, our sports news correspondent Chris McLaughlin is at Ibrox for us tonight. And Chris, tell us then, how will fans be feeling about this appointment?
That's a very good question, Sarah. I can tell you how the club will be feeling: relieved. And that is because the saga that became their search for a replacement for Russell Martin is finally over. So many twists and turns along the way, 3 candidates pulling out, including the new man himself. 3 candidates during this process saying they didn't want to be considered. Now, just a few hours ago, Rangers confirmed Danny Rule is the new head coach. He hasn't had the chance to speak to the media just yet. Some quotes from the Rangers website, from the man himself. The expectations are huge, he says, and I love this challenge because I set high standards for myself and my team. The chairman, Andrew Kavanagh: we know the past few months have been challenging, but our focus has always been on getting the right person who is ready to immediately embrace this football club and the demands that come with it. Now, you mentioned the fans. Will they be happy? Well, earlier on, I spoke to a few to find out.
It's been a bit of a fiasco from start to finish, you know, to be perfectly honest. I suppose you've got to back the manager, give him a chance, but will he be my first choice? Personally speaking, I'd prefer Gerrard.
They should have brought back Ferguson.
Barry Ferguson?
Barry, yes. That's my opinion. Half of them don't agree with me.
Right.
But I think Barry Ferguson is doing a good job.
Anything's better than Martin. I don't know, to be honest, whether to be pleased or scared, really. It's not exciting times.
Is it tough being a Rangers fan just now?
Yes, especially when your mates are Celtic fans.
So, Chris, detecting some anger there amongst fans.
Yeah, I think that's right. We should point out we will hear more about Danny Rule's pedigree later in the programme in Sport with Lewis. But you're right, fans are looking for answers about this process. As you mentioned, Steven Gerrard, spoken to by the board, ruled himself out. Danny Rule at some point, spoken to by the board, ruled himself out. Kevin Muscat, the same. Now remember, when the board sacked Russell Martin, they signed an open letter to fans, or wrote an open letter to fans saying, look, we know we got this one wrong. We will do better next time. Now, on the evidence of the past 2 weeks, I think it's safe to say the Rangers fans are yet to be convinced.
Thank you very much, Chris. We'll get some more on this later on the programme in the sport. Now, hundreds of millions of pounds are to be invested in Scotland's renewable energy sector by a Japanese company, creating hundreds of jobs. Mitsui has drawn up the plans, having taken control of the Port of Nig in Easter Ross earlier this year. It comes as the First Minister defended meeting a Chinese company which plans to build wind turbines in Ardersier. That proposal raised some concerns around national security. So who should and shouldn't be investing in the transition to green energy? Our business and economy editor Douglas Fraser reports.
Taking shape in Easter Ross, by this time next year, this vast factory will be producing high-voltage cables for the seabed, needed to link offshore wind power to those of us who use it. Part of a giant Japanese firm, Sumitomo Electric, is investing £350 million here.
All roof and wall is done. Now we started the installation with a huge machinery.
It promises 200 jobs and double that in the supply chain, a sign at last that Scottish manufacturing for renewable power is picking up. Across the road, the port of Nigg also has Japanese owners who were visiting today. Mitsui took it over in summer from Highland-based Global Energy Group after 13 years as minority partner. It's quiet now, but Mitsui intends to spend big on getting it ready for offshore renewables growth around the north of Scotland.
Yes, there's a lot of investment we are planning now in the future. So quayside investment and also to help the more manufacture to assembly. We are forecasting almost several £100 million in the future.
So while funds flow from Japan into this part of the Highlands, even more money, a much bigger project is planned for 9 miles south of here at Ardersier, near Inverness. That's a £1.5 billion project to manufacture offshore wind turbines. The problem there is that it's Chinese money, Chinese technology, and that brings national security concerns. British governments have failed to decide if they want to attract Chinese investment or mistrust the potential compromise of software and data. Questioned today on a visit to Malawi, the First Minister said, yes, he's been speaking to potential investor Ming Yang to look after the economic well-being of Scots. But John Swinney acknowledged that national security dimension. He said he'll engage with the UK government, which controls the security assessments. With 1,500 jobs and perhaps double that promised by Ming Yang at Ardersier, this has become a high-stakes, high-level question of geopolitics. Douglas Fraser, reporting Scotland, Easter Ross.
Now, a company which ran a care home outside Inverness has been fined £1.9 million after a 96-year-old resident choked to death on her dinner as she ate alone in her room. HC1 ran Cradle Hall Care Home in June 2022 when a woman on a specialist diet of soft food was given macaroni and chips unsupervised. That afternoon, just 2 agency carers were looking after 12 residents. The home closed last year. Ailey Davies now reports.
Previously, serious concerns were raised about this care home, Cradle Hall Nursing Home here in Inverness. Now, 2 years ago, in March, the Care Inspectorate cancelled the home's registration, and just a month later, it was then run by St Philip's Care. The care home closed its doors for good. 2 years prior to that, a 96-year-old resident, Peggy Campbell, had a specialist care plan in place where she had to be closely supervised when eating and drinking because she was at risk of choking. In June 2022, she was left alone with a meal for up to 20 minutes. When a carer returned, she had got into difficulties. She raised the alarm, paramedics were called, and sadly she was pronounced dead. Today at Inverness Sheriff Court, HC1, who were then operators of the home, pleaded guilty to failings under the Health and Safety at Work Act. Sheriff Robert Fraser said it was very serious indeed. It was the 5th conviction in 6 years for a death in one of their Scottish care homes. HC1 has released a statement this evening. They offer their deepest condolences to the family of Mrs Campbell, and they say that the safety and well-being of all residents is their highest priority, and that they're shocked and saddened by the events that took place here in June 2022.
Ailey Davies reporting there. OK, time to take a look at some of the day's other stories now. A 22-year-old man has died in a crash on the A92 near Inverkeeler in Angus. The crash involving a red Renault Clio and a grey Nissan Duke happened at around 20 to 6 yesterday evening. The driver of the Renault died at the scene. Edinburgh and Glasgow airports could see the biggest shake-up of Scotland's airspace since the 1950s under new flight path proposals. A public consultation has opened into the plans, which are designed to reduce noise and cut emissions during take-off and landings. The consultation is jointly coordinated between Edinburgh Airport, Glasgow Airport and the air traffic service NATS. And a 3.3 magnitude earthquake has been felt in homes across Perthshire. The epicentre was in Pupil in Glenlyon. The British Geological Survey recorded the tremor around 7:25 this morning. Residents in Callander, Tyndrum and Grantully all reported hearing and feeling the earthquake. Now, families whose loved ones were killed when a Chinook helicopter crashed on the Mull of Kintyre more than 30 years ago are preparing to hand in a petition to Downing Street, renewing their calls for a public inquiry. 25 intelligence experts and 4 Special Forces crew died in the crash. The Prime Minister rejected a public inquiry and the release of sealed documents earlier this year. Hope Webb has the story.
It was the worst peacetime accident in the history of the RAF. And since the tragedy in 1994, the loved ones of the 29 who lost their lives have been searching for answers. They're now planning on delivering a petition to Downing Street tomorrow in their latest call for a public inquiry into the fatal crash.
What we really need to know and deserve to know is why they were put on that aircraft, why were they put on the helicopter in the first place. It was known not to be airworthy, and I just want to do him justice by fighting for answers and transparency, because I know that's what he would do.
Back in August, the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, rejected their calls for a public inquiry, saying it would not bring any greater certainty and wouldn't be in the public interest. The Chinook Justice Campaign has now released 110 critical questions about the tragedy that it wants answered. Among those, the campaign asks who authorised the mission and why the aircraft type was selected, after speculation it was unfit to fly. Pilot error was initially cited as the reason for the crash, but the finding was overturned in 2011.
There is a fundamental wrong, a fundamental miscarriage of justice that has happened here. The government has an obligation to allow someone to understand how and why their loved one died, even if that's embarrassing to members of the Ministry of Defence.
Last year, it was revealed that files relating to the crash had been sealed by the Ministry of Defence for 100 years. In a statement, the MOD said it had received the campaign group's formal claim for a judicial review and that its focus is on responding to allegations within it, and it's unable to comment any further. Despite 31 years of setbacks and disappointments, the unwavering fight for answers continues. Hope Webb, reporting Scotland.
Now, it's the Commonwealth Games next year and hundreds of thousands of people have signed up for early access to tickets. That's according to the Chief Executive of Glasgow 2026. Phil Batty was speaking at the Scottish Affairs Committee at Westminster, where he was being quizzed by MPs. Suzanne Allen now reports.
Come on in, Australia! Glasgow 2014, a sporting extravaganza on a large scale. Next year's Games are a different story. The city stepped in last October after hosts Victoria pulled out. So it's a scaled-down event with 10 sports, 6 parasports and fewer athletes. But, according to organisers, just as much enthusiasm as the last Games. Appearing in front of the Scottish Affairs Committee at Westminster this morning, organisers claim the ticket pre-sale is going well.
I'm pleased to say that hundreds of thousands of people have signed up for the pre-sales that are taking place over the course of this week. We've got Glasgow and Scotland, next week the UK and international, and then we go on general public sale towards the end of next week. So that's a real sign of confidence that there's definitely an appetite to get in the venues and watch the sport.
Ticket prices start at £26 for medal sessions, £17 for non-medal sessions and concessions from £12. Mr Batty also praised the number of young people who've applied to be volunteers.
It was only sort of 5 weeks ago that we opened applications for volunteering, and we have had thousands upon thousands of people express their interest in being a volunteer, but we lowered the age to 16 and we've had an overwhelming response from 16 to 25-year-olds. So someone who was 4 the last time the Commonwealth Games came to the city, they're now putting their hat in the ring and looking forward to volunteering.
Ross Murdoch is going to take the goal for Scotland. A question mark still hangs over who the UK broadcaster will be. Mr Batty says he's confident of securing a UK rights holder. The BBC has been the principal broadcaster since TV coverage began in 1954. Usain Bolt won't be competing this time, but 3,000 other athletes will be. Suzanne Allen reporting Scotland.
Well, the news at 7 is on right after us over on BBC Scotland, and Amy's here.
Plenty of the programme. As always, Sarah, we'll be talking about the new Rangers news, of course, the new manager, Danny Rule, coming in. We'll have much more on that. Also, we're now in what retailers call the golden quarter as we build up to a particularly big event that I don't think any of us are ready to talk about in
No,
December.
not yet.
But we're going to be looking at why the next couple of months are so crucial for the retail industry after what's been a pretty tricky 2025. And it is also the launch of the Scottish Poppy Appeal. So we're going to be talking much more about that and why it's still so important.
OK, lovely stuff, Amy. Thank you so much. Time for tonight's main news again. Rangers appoint Danny Rule as their new head coach. The former Sheffield Wednesday manager takes over from Russell Martin, who was sacked after just 17 games in charge.
And still to come in the sport, Celtic suffer a bruising defeat to Dundee as Hearts move 5 points clear at the top of the Premiership table.
A pay row at universities could turn into a national strike. 4 unions representing lecturers and other staff across Britain are balloting their members over what they call a derisory pay offer. It comes amid a series of local rows and strikes over job losses at individual Scottish universities. Our news correspondent Jamie McIver now reports.
The University of the West of Scotland in Paisley has faced strikes recently in a row over compulsory redundancies. The latest was due today, but was called off late last week. Today the campus was open as usual, and the local dispute here seems to be heading towards a settlement, but the relief may be short-lived. Students here and at other Scottish universities could soon be facing disruption in a UK-wide pay dispute. It's a row over the pay offer for university staff all across Britain. The 4 main university unions are angry about a pay offer worth less than half the rate of inflation, 1.4%. Today they started balloting members on a national strike.
There's been close to decades worth of below inflation pay offers imposed on staff, so in real terms, staff at universities are facing a pay cut year on year with workload intensification.
We met some first-year students who were supportive of strikes, but feeling their effects.
The problem, so to speak, that we've been having with it is, in some cases, been a lack of communication with students in regards to the strikes.
Yeah, no, hopefully it does get settled soon. You know, they get what they deserve, and then we can get back to a bit of normality.
The pay offer covers nearly all of Britain's universities. Some of them face serious financial problems.
Our offer, 1.4%, is the most that the sector can afford, and we really hope that the unions can work with us to try to make the case for the sector rather than balloting for industrial action, which could lead to disruption and ultimately suffering for the students in the sector.
Rows over jobs and pay are part of a bigger discussion on university funding. Many Scottish universities are looking at job cuts, and any strikes across the UK could begin in January. Jamie McIver, reporting Scotland.
Time for the sport now, and Lewis, more on Rangers.
There's a big sports story today.
There is indeed.
Indeed, more of that. Thanks very much. Hello there. Yes, as you heard earlier in the programme, after a fortnight of trying to find their new head coach, Rangers finally have their man. He's Danny Rule, a German coach who's well known in the English Championship. So what else do we know about him? Well, his first coaching job was at Bundesliga side RB Leipzig, where he was previously a video analyst for the club. From there, he then moved with Leipzig coach Ralph Hasenhüttl to the English Premiership to join Southampton. He then made the move back to the Bundesliga as an assistant coach with champions Bayern Munich and followed Bayern coach Hansi Flick to the national setup with Germany before taking up his first managerial position at Hillsborough with championship side Sheffield Wednesday, where he spent almost 2 seasons. Well, as someone that knows Danny Rule very well, joins me on the programme now is Barry Bannon, Sheffield Wednesday captain. Barry, thank you very much for joining us tonight. You played under Rule, of course, during his time with your club. So can you tell us what sort of coach is he?
He was very hands-on. He's a winner, which stood out straight away from the first meeting we had. Everything was about winning. Even given a young age, he came across really confident as well, which made the players leave the meeting straight away and think he was going to do really well at us. Obviously, when a young manager comes in, you have questions. Is he going to be shy, or is he going to be confident? But he was really confident in his ability, and as I said, he's massive on winning and winning however you can.
Yeah, when you touched on his age there, Barry, that's what I was going to ask. As a player, is there extra pressure on a coach coming into an experienced dressing room when they are fairly young, and how did he handle that?
He is really young. I think he's the same age as me when he came to us. We're a similar age, so I was really impressed with how confident he came across, because I was putting myself in his situation, and I don't think I could be like that. But he came across really confident, and obviously he's been in the game for a while. Even given his young age, he's obviously been assistant manager at top teams, which stands him in good stead as well. But no, he was. His age we never really looked at his age after a few weeks, because his training and the way he came across was years above what he actually is.
Yeah, and just briefly, Barry, to wrap us up, do you think he'll have what it then takes to succeed at Rangers?
Yeah, I do. I think his confidence and his own ability is a massive thing. All the best managers are very confident in themselves, and I think Danny's got that confidence side of things. Listen, I know what it's like up there. It's like no other club in the world. It's Celtic and Rangers, so it's definitely going to be a big task for him. Absolutely. But I'm sure it's one that he's looking forward to. I know his character, and he loves a fan base, and they've got a huge fan base, so I think it'll be a good match.
Absolutely. Well, Barry Bannon, we really appreciate your time on the programme this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now turning our attention to Celtic, who suffered a first away defeat to Dundee in 37 years yesterday amid another protest against the board by fans. It began straight after kick-off as travelling supporters threw bouncy balls onto the pitch, disrupting the match, which was delayed as both sets of players cleared them off the surface. Dundee scored twice in the first half to serve up one of the big shocks of the Premiership season so far, which moves Stephen Presley's side up to 9th. While the Old Firm are delivering poor performances on the pitch and plenty of drama off of it too, Hearts are quietly building a lead at the top of the Premiership table. They ran out 3-0 winners against Kilmarnock on Saturday as manager Derek McInnes made a triumphant return to Rugby Park. Claudio Braga's second half double secured the Jambos' 5th win in a row, taking them 5 points clear of Celtic. Now to rugby, and Glasgow Warriors say they're getting better in attack and defence after their thumping 42-17 away win against Ospreys in the United Rugby Championship. Their 6-try bonus point victory helped the Warriors rise to 3rd in the table behind Stormers and Munster. They now face Pretoria Bulls at Scotstoun on Friday night.
It's hard to win away from home. Like, you look across all the top leagues right now, like, you don't get many away wins. We obviously learned some lessons from the Benetton game as well, having lost that in the second half. So, listen, we're really pleased, I think, to go away and our attacks building nicely to score that many points, but obviously defensively as well.
And Sarah, plenty more chat on the new Rangers boss and what was a dramatic weekend in the Premiership on the news at 7 shortly.
Lovely stuff, Lewis. Thank you very much. But you might want to hang around because this story sounds kind of up your street. He may be one of America's most famous talk show hosts, but even Jimmy Fallon was surprised when soldiers from the Royal Regiment of Scotland recognised him while on holiday in Braemar. The TV star was invited to a black tie dinner at the Victoria Barracks in Ballater that night, but was left scrambling for the right attire. Ben Phillip went to find out what happened next.
Autumn on Royal Deeside. Its ancient forests and rolling hills attract thousands of visitors every year.
Hey everybody, it's Jimmy. I know, cool hat. Yeah, I have a story behind it. If you want to hear it, if you have a couple of minutes, I'll tell you.
US talk show host Jimmy Fallon spent some time in the area last week. The comedian paid a visit to Billy Connolly's former Scottish retreat and Balmoral Castle. Jimmy was standing on this bridge, dropping a tie pin into the River Dee for a friend with Scottish ancestry when he was approached by the King's Royal Guards.
I might get arrested for this, Eddie, but it's worth it. You're there, bud.
The soldiers recognised him and invited him for dinner. Jimmy had to borrow a kilt from the night manager of the hotel he was staying at.
The socks, the sporran thing, that little flappy thing in front of the kilt.
And what a night they had.
He commanded the room extremely well. You can tell he's an entertainer. His stories were extremely funny, they were personal. To be honest, I think he was quite touched to get the invite. But I think it truly landed home when he came in and he actually experienced a warm reception as he did. You know, we literally gave him a good old Scotch wraparound.
Scotch eggs with venison was on the menu, washed down with Buckfast tonic wine. And Jimmy even left with his own kilt.
I'm just so grateful, thankful for everyone for being so nice in Scotland.
Ben Phillip, reporting Scotland, Aberdeenshire.
A memorable night in Scotland for Jimmy Fallon. OK, let's take a look at the weather forecast for you now. How's it looking, Christopher?
A bit more unsettled compared with last week, but take a look at this. Picture perfect Perthshire there with some sunshine. Wasn't much of that around yesterday, no. Sarah. Thanks very much indeed. Good evening to you. Yes, it was a good bit drier and brighter compared with all that rain that we had yesterday. Now, last week it was all about high pressure. This week it's low pressure. That means there will be some rain, some showers at times. But equally, there will be some drier moments, some sunshine in the forecast too. So let's take a look at this evening, and we've still got outbreaks of rain across parts of Highlands and Islands. It's a occluded front here pushing its way eastwards towards eastern areas overnight. Some clear skies, Aberdeenshire to the borders, so you could see some mist and fog forming. Temperatures in towns and cities 7 to 10 Celsius. That takes us to tomorrow, and we've got a murky start in the east with that low cloud, and then it's a cloudy picture elsewhere with outbreaks of rain in the west, slowly shifting their way eastwards as we go through the course of the day. So sunshine will be in short supply. Here's a snapshot mid-afternoon. A few brighter moments developing in towards parts of Ayrshire, Arran, Kintyre, Dumfries and Galloway. Elsewhere, rather cloudy with some showers, and again rather grey towards the east coast with that low cloud lifting into cloud. Some outbreaks of rain across the Highlands and Islands, but it's a drier day in Shetland compared with today. Lighter winds too. Tomorrow evening and tomorrow night, a west-northwesterly wind driving in some showers. Clear skies further east and south where it will be chilly. That takes us to Wednesday and Thursday. Low pressure to the south, low pressure to the north, but actually in between on Wednesday, a lot of dry and bright weather. So Wednesday doesn't look too bad. Some sunshine around. Will be a little bit cooler compared with today and tomorrow, but with the sunshine probably feeling better actually. A few showers around coming in on those westerly winds, brisk winds in the northwest. And then going ahead through the week to Thursday, we've still got that low pressure to the southeast pulling away to the low countries, and this one to the north bringing some rain, but later in the day on Thursday. So for Thursday itself, for much of the country, for much of the day, it's dry with some brightness, early mist and fog lifts, and there's that rain with the low pressure moving in later in the day. That's the forecast for now.
Lovely stuff, Christopher. Thank you very much. Now, a reminder of tonight's top story. Rangers appoint Danny Rule as their new head coach, taking over from Russell Martin, who was sacked after just 17 games in charge. Well, I will be here with your late news at around 10:30 tonight, but until then, enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye.